everybody, peace and blessings, Star fam. I want to make a video today about a side project that I'm sort of working on. It may interest people who use astrology in their lives. It's a blank sidereal chart template, and it's oriented specifically to J2000 ecliptic longitude. So this video is going to be in two parts. It's one video. There's not a part two, but this one video will have two sections. And the first is why anyone would want to do why anyone would want to do charts by hand in the modern world. And the second section is going to be an example of how to use the chart. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, you can get this sidereal chart template kind of package. It's in a zip file. There's a link in the description. I'll put it up on the screen, and it'll also be available in the Radical Astrology file base. That's a group on Facebook that people familiar with my channel will probably know. Yeah, we share files, so. And it's basically this in A4 and US letter printable size, also an 11 by 17 inch poster size. And this is a 4K ultra high def, like 16 by 9 form factor for widescreens for people who do digital work. And you can get all these in PDF and JPEG format in that zip archive. So, all right, charts by hand, right? Why would anyone want to do this? I have 3 points that I'd like to just approach this from this video. And the first is the limitations of astrology software and the ephemerides that are used, basically like Swiss ephemerides. If you go to AstroDienst or anywhere else that uses their ephemerides, you have a range of about 6,000 years. And in those 6,000 years, you can get a lot of data. You can really, you can study the astro patterns to some great satisfaction. But once you start studying trans-Neptunian objects that may have orbital periods in the hundreds of years, even in the thousands of years, Sedna in the tens of thousands of years, and there are others that orbit in at a great distance to the sun. They're aphelion, and their orbital period represents 5 digits. It's in the 10,000 year kind of range. So once you start studying that, 6,000 years becomes, well, insufficient. So to get the full range of data that a person might want, if a person wants to map the patterns of bodies over a great span of time, they may benefit from a chart like this. And the second reason is simple personal preference. Like, some people are going to have a personal preference for hand drawing. And those people might be artists, they might be mystics, but they understand the value of an analog relationship with something, and not just point and click. Like, it's a tool to deepen your familiarity with any chart. That's the third reason. It's a tool to deepen. So we have the limitations of ephemerides. We have personal preference, simple personal preference for hand drawing, who want the option to have this. Now you do. And the third is, this is a powerful, magical act to draw a chart by hand. And it used to be that you would get out your compass and slide rule and generate all of this from scratch. And that was what was necessary to do astrology. You had to have some basic knowledge of geometry. But to have a blank template, I don't think it hurts anyone. And because everything's so insta-click now, You know, when you build a chart by hand and you plot the points, you know, you get this whole different feel for, you know, the dynamics of the chart. To, you really get to learn it. You really get to see it step by step. So building a holistic understanding of a chart is something that drawing charts by hand really empowers. And I just want to close out this section by saying two things. I created this to look at long-term data, trans-Neptunian objects and the patterns that they make through time. To start looking at longer periods of time, it became necessary to chart positions myself. So I needed a blank template, and it just didn't exist. So I mean, it exists. You can get a totally blank template, like 12, 12 sections of a wheel and 360 degrees. And everyone on Etsy wants to get their beak wet, like $5 for that. So, I mean, sure, the hustle's real. I respect it, but I'm more into free tools. So that's a little on my side, a personal note for the people. I want to just close the section by encouraging everyone who uses astrology or has any interest in doing this, draw your own chart. Do it. Do it. Draw your own chart. Just, you don't have to use charts by hand. You don't have to commit to anything else, but grab this and just map out your own chart. I'm gonna show a little about that in the second section of this video, which is going to kind of show how to use this in all its utility, and all the, like, we're charting ecliptic latitude. We have bands for ecliptic latitude, and we of course have a zodiac, which is based on ecliptic longitude, J2000. And this will start the second section of this video, where we talk about how to use this thing. We're oriented here to ecliptic longitude. We have a 360 point here, and it corresponds actually with the vernal equinox. You see the sign for Aries here because this marks the vernal equinox in the year 2000. So when we're looking at J2000 data, which this orients to, J2000 is a standard sort of frozen in time January 1st, 2000. The J isn't for January, it's for Julian, so that's Julian year 2000. And it's January 1st, 2000, the position of the vernal equinox on that date, on that time, is what we're measuring from here. That's the northern hemisphere vernal equinox. So you'll see the southern hemisphere vernal equinox, the entrance of the sun into Libra, according to what would be like tropical astrology in the year 2000. Here at 180 degrees, and you know, Cancer and Capricorn are likewise marked. So what we have, J2000 isn't something that astronomers commonly use, and it's definitely not something that sidereal astrologers commonly use. But the reason I chose it is because it represents the Venn diagram overlap between astronomy and astrology, and it represents a standardization of points around the ecliptic. We'll get into why we want J2000 data. But for now, it's enough to know that this is like the tropical zodiac in the year 2000 would have been like from 0 to 30. This would have been Aries. And, you know, of course, it's sidereal Pisces. And you know, I'm not going to get into the nuances of all that in this video, but I want to say we're mixing metaphors here. We're doing, this is strange. This is strange. So there aren't charts like this out here, and I'll show you why I chose this. We're going to need Stellarium for this. Now, Stellarium is a program for astronomy. And let's see. The first thing I want to say is that in using these astrology charts, what we want to do is first, if we're going to use this for astrology, we can do a couple things. One is to clean up this data, because one of the data this gives, if I click on moon and this gives a readout of all the data, astronomical data for the moon, you'll see right here, ecliptic, longitude, and latitude J2000. Okay, we have this data. Okay, be careful not to mix it up. When you see J2000, we also have right ascension and declination data for J2000, and there may be other J2000 references scattered here and there, but generally speaking, what I'm trying to indicate is don't go for it just because it says J2000. We want to make sure it's ecliptic, longitude, and latitude on J2000. Now, I just said a lot about that, but one of the first things I want to show you to do is go into the setup, and under information, first I'm going to tick none. Now it's going to take all this, and I want to then only display the name and the ecliptic coordinates J2000. Boom. Now that is going to give pretty amazing advantage to us, because what we really want is to note these degrees. So having done that, if we're going to use Stellarium for astrology, the first thing we have to do is go into location, and you can use F6 or click right here on the location window. And we want to make our location match the location of the nativity that we're going to be charting. So mine's Pittsburgh. I have returned to the town of my birth, so that's accurate. And boom. And then we want to go into the date time window, which is F5, or this second icon down on the left. We want to orient ourselves to time in the correct way. Now this says date and time. Up here it says Julian day, but be aware this is hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, and you'll see seconds is ticking. It's actually moving. We can pause that right here. And if you go to Julian day, you can choose by the Julian day. But if you go to date and time, you can enter like the standard data that you would enter into any astro program. So I was born at 4:11 p.m. on October 19th, 1977. So now we're oriented to the town of my birth and the time of my birth, and we can start to draw my chart. All right. So this is something I've been sort of working on and building kind of piece by piece, step by step. This is my natal chart, and you can see it's got a lot of the bodies that I want to chart. It doesn't quite have the sun and Mercury yet, and we're also, if I'm not mistaken, missing Eris. I'm going to get into how to calculate nodes in another video, because for calculating the ascendant and for calculating nodes, we're going to have to pull in a couple astro tricks. Nodes are available through the Jet Propulsion Lab at NASA's Horizons calculator, which I'm going to make a separate video about how to get lunar node data, very precise, to J2000 standards from JPL Horizons. You can't get lunar node data from Stellarium, but what we can do here, this is very good to just give a quick example, because we don't have the Sun or Mercury plotted amongst these planets yet. So what I want to do is go to Stellarium and Control F and search for Sun, and it'll give me this data here. Ecliptic longitude is 206 degrees 38 arc minutes. So about 206 and 2/3 degrees. Now we can go into and the latitude of the Sun to the ecliptic will almost always be 0. It's not precise. Keep in mind the ecliptic. If you're wondering why is there a discrepancy of the Sun to the ecliptic, which is the path of the Sun, it's because it's the apparent path of the Sun. It's actually the path of the Earth around the Sun, and there can be some discrepancy from Sun to ecliptic. So don't worry about that. Just get this J2000 ecliptic longitude number, 206 and 2/3, and we're gonna go back into our program, and we're gonna orient ourselves from 0 around to 206. And when we get there, oh, I see, I do have Mercury mapped. We have 200, 210. Each of these ticks is 2 degrees, and then each one in the inside is 1. So we have 202, 204, 206, 207. You can see I have Mercury like pretty well combust, and I'm going to let's see, what am I going to do? I'm going to draw the Sun in here. So that is how I would take that data and plot the Sun. So let's move on. Let's move on to something that has, let's look at something that's going to take a little J2000 ecliptic latitude data. And I'll show you why Pluto's up here, what that means, and you know, he's off the ecliptic, obviously. Let's go back to Stellarium and Control F, and we're now going to search Eris. Now, Eris is here. You can see that immediately we can tell that Eris is south of the ecliptic, and one of the things that we can do here in the sky viewing options window, that's F4, is we can bring in markings, and we can use the ecliptic of date, and it defaults to showing the solar dates. I don't need that data for this, so I turn it off, and this is like that and the cardinal points are the only things that interest me relative to this. But when I center on Eris, I see that she's well south of the ecliptic. She's in Cetus, definitely deep in the belly of the whale, the belly of the beast, the sea monster, at the time of my birth. But the point I want to make here is we have J2000 longitude data. That's 14 degrees. And the latitude data is 19 and 50 arc minutes, almost 20 degrees negative. So let me show you what to do with that here. So we have 14 degrees 6, and we'll make a mark here, but we have 19 degrees 50 arc minutes. That's almost 20 arc minutes to the south. So we can sort of draw a line to the center here, sort of slide rule style, and see that that would put us right about there. And now we can all right, so now we have the sun and Eris plotted, and you can see that Eris, we have a way of delineating that she is south of the ecliptic, 20 degrees. And we can see that even though she is going to oppose Pluto, we have let's see, 14 would be 180 plus 14 would be 94. So it's a pretty wide opposition, but Pluto's within that 10 degrees, so all right, so now we have Eris plotted. We have Eris plotted correctly to the stars. We can see that she's, about 20 degrees low. Pluto is maybe like 15, 16, 17 degrees high. You can, of course, make notes of all this if you so desire. I'm sort of just ballparking it for starters. And when you do stuff like this, you can move all around. You can do stuff like if you just want to up and take this and put it here or really anywhere else. You can do that. So I encourage you to use your charts like this in your astro programs with layers, and leave the base blank. You can see I have one little line. When I was drawing Mercury, I drew in the wrong layer. So mistakes will be made, but don't worry. You can always re-download it if you mess up your originals. Always work from copies, always work non-destructively. Let's see, what else can we do? Just for another example, we can go back, we can search Chiron, and okay, so we have Chiron here very close to the ecliptic at 2/3 a degree south, and it looks like 30, approximately 35 degrees, just about 35 degrees J2000. So just to familiarize everybody, you should all be like, why is he showing us this? We know this, but 35 degrees is from the 0 point down here, 34, 35. So we can plot right here, and we can draw this point. All right, so that's some examples of plotting it on a chart, sped up for everyone's benefit. All right, and here we have the finished result. We have Chiron, which was at 35, like 34 degrees and 53 arc minutes longitude, and just a little bit below the ecliptic, 2/3 of a degree. And remember that these lines are defined as 35 north and 35 south. And that's actually accurate to the stars in this map. Like Saif, which I believe that's Saif, is about 33 degrees south, and Ras Al Hog at the other end of the heavens is like 35 degrees and some arc minutes. So Because if you're charting Eris, Eris can go further north or south of the equator of the ecliptic by almost 10 degrees. So you may end up charting Eris like here, or maybe out here. But the important thing to remember is that this is giving you a chance to note where some of the trans-Neptunians, like you see Pluto and Eris, these bodies are not always close to the ecliptic. And this is a way to measure and sort of step into more of a 3D understanding around the solar system. Alternatively, you could just go into Stellarium and just chart ecliptic longitude. And that's the way a lot of astrology programs work. They just chart everything around the ecliptic. So these latitude, these points of latitude, these bands they're optional. You know, you don't need to feel like that needs to matter to you to use this, but if it does, it's certainly available. And with that, I think I want to just wind this video down. That's a little introduction, how to use it, how to plot charts non-destructively using layers in a digital sense. If you're printing these out for drawing on it, yeah, just have a blast. This is something that, man, every old school astrologer had to do this. Every like the idea, the astrologers that taught me, their generation, they were the generation that was like introduced to like astrology software. Click, we have a chart. That's amazing. That's fantastic. That's like, you lose a lot of analog skills when you go so heavily digital. And so this I offer to the community as a little pushback against that outsourcing of skills, and a way to familiarize, a way to really deeply recognize some of the qualities of the charts you care about. You know, I don't know. I don't want to limit this to anyone's use case. So what I wanted to do was make it very democratized, very available, irrespective of use case. That's why there's this graph paper. You can fill it in. You can set the chart up any way you want. You can look at what's relevant to you. All right, fam. That's it for this one. There will be more. There will be videos on how to calculate north and south nodes, true node positions to a precise minute of time. There'll be that video for adding lunar nodes to your natal charts in this chart template style. And there will also need to be a video about how to grab ascendant, midheaven, descendant, and IC, or lower midheaven from some software. And it's actually the case that no astronomy software cares about those. Those are local angles, and you would just really have to know so much about the mathematics of it's bizarre. It's higher maths, and I don't expect anyone to know it. There may be some simple formulas, and we may end up grabbing angles from like astrology sites like AstroSeek that do tropical output, because J2000 is more closely related to tropical, and there are some pretty simple formulas to get angles from any tropical astrology output to apply a simple formula. So expect videos about that too. The formulas to put correct angles into charts like this, and also a powerful tool to generate nodal nodal data in J2000 notation. All right, fam, that's a wrap. I'll see you out there. Love you all. Be safe.